Hello, guys. Good morning. Welcome to the class. Welcome, welcome. All right, so let me do some system check before we start everything else. How you guys feeling? Good morning. Welcome to the class. How you guys feeling, guys? Everyone okay?
I will not change the things I say. I will not love you just today. Tomorrow we will love again. I will not love you. 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 Love again.
Hey, good morning, Chet. So, right now, I'm thinking of starting a trading journal with you. So, I don't have any, um, we don't have any constraint. We won't have any rules. We won't have any like restriction. What we're gonna do though is to really, you know, build that trading journal with you. So I may document about my emotions. I may document about my trading setup. I may document about my philosophy. I may have a lot of discussion with you. So, this is meant to be do in the live stream. And your main role is to be my trading journal. So, yep, that's it. All right, guys, good morning. Welcome back to my live stream. Well, my name is CG, and good to see you guys. It is Friday morning, 10 a.m. Malaysia time. So we're having live trade session from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I'm wondering, how do you guys feel? I feel great. I feel calm. I feel zen. I just did a 30 minutes meditation before I start my live stream. And one thing that is quite interesting about, doing live stream, doing live trade in front of the world, in front of an audience is that, it tend to make me sharpen my trading skill. That would be the first thing. And the second thing would be it makes me a better trader because of, the accountability, the responsibility that I have, comparing with trading alone with myself. So when I'm on screen, when I'm talking with the screen, I'm training myself to become a better speaker. I'm training myself to become, better at reasoning. I'm training myself to become, someone that is much more disciplined and emotionally calm. Um, just because that I need to take responsibility of my very own words. So yeah, that is the interesting thing about becoming a live analyst, right? Doing analysis live, becoming a trader in front of the world. So yeah, that's just part of the game, right? So yeah, welcome to my session. Today we're gonna talk about, well, as the standard usual practice, we're gonna go to explore different kind of markets, and usually I will start with my sixth sense, right? And I want my trading to be fun, and sometimes there's need, a certain element of, what would we say, we need a certain element of um, sentimental value, right? You may think that trading is some kind of game that is, highly rational, emotionalist. To me, I disagree with that. I think trading is a hybrid between rational and irrational. It is a hybrid between um, believing in your gut feeling, and at the same time, you gotta believe in your rational thinking as well. So I think trading a lot of time is like a mixture of both. So to me, I try not to be too serious about trading. And oftentimes, you know, when I want to pick a pair to trade in forex market, I will usually start with visualization. I will start with imagery. I will start with asking myself, if I really wanna, if I really want to go somewhere for holiday, where would it be? Where is the perfect spot for me to open my laptop, my MacBook, having a cup of really nice hot Americano? And what is the weather be like? Is it like warm? Is it like cold? Is it like chill? And what am I wearing? Am I wearing a hoodie? Am I wearing the cap I want? And what watch am I wearing? So when I vision that, I'm thinking myself, somewhere like Europe would be fine. Maybe somewhere around like Eiffel Tower, sitting beside there, drink some coffee, enjoy the view, and trade. And that is the vision that I'm having, constructing in my mind right now. And that actually brings me to, well, European country. So we're gonna talk about Europe. Maybe we're gonna talk about Swiss franc, and we can talk about Britain, GBP, even though that, you know, uh, Britain is not a part of Europe anymore. But still, it is worth to have some fun with. So today we're gonna start with Europe, right? Since I'm having this vision in me of trading the European, of traveling to Europe. So let's take a look at Europe. So you see, what I'm doing right now is very simple. I'm trying to have that kind of I'm trying to have that kind of I would say relaxed vibe. I want to have that kind of vibe that is relaxed, playful, joyful, not stress. Because if you're not relaxed, if you're not having fun, it is impossible for you to go into a state, which what we call a flow state, right? So you need to be in a flow state. When you're in a flow state, you trade better, you think better, everything is better. Okay. So right now, what I'm gonna do, well, I'm gonna, I'm gonna really try to analyze the trade again. For this position, yeah, I'm gonna hold it for a little while. A quick recap on Euro US dollar. Yesterday, last night, I did a live stream for the, China and Taiwan session, which is the Mandarin session. So yesterday I did take a closer look in the market, volatility of the 4 hours. But right now I would really go back to the daily time frame of Euro US dollar and have a good glimpse on, what's up, right? Have a good glimpse on what is up in the daily time frame. Well, first thing first, let's do something. Okay. In the daily time frame, we did spot, you know, an obvious compression of distribution power from the seller. Okay. A very obvious distribution power from the seller. Now, before I continue, let me do something else. Okay, let me do something else. I'm taking a journal. I'm trying to learn and trade at the same time. So, guys, I want you to see the entire thought process. Okay, so I'm going to show you my trading journal and how do I actually improve myself in every session. Hey, chat. It is 10:14 a.m. right now, 13th of March 2026, Friday. And I'm having this live stream with me. And what I want to do is to understand further about auction market theory, where the difference between distribution by the seller and for the buyer, there's a term, right? So when you're talking about seller is gathering position, is having much more momentum, we are talking about distribution, right? And I remember for buyer, if seller is distribution, and what does buyer do? Yep, accumulations, guys. So just for you to know, I learn English, I practice English through reading, through using AI, watching movies, listening to music, really get myself being influenced by the Western culture since very young. So for me, some people ask me, hey CG, well, as a non-native English speaker, your English is pretty damn good. Well, for me, um, I consider my English like above average, but still I have my struggles. The struggles that I'm having is that it is still not my native language. So sometimes I still, having the difficulty to express myself as detailed as possible, even though that it is still fluent compared to, others non-native speakers. But to me, it is okay already, right? It is okay already. So finally, we have some friends that are from Telegram, from our community joining into the live stream. Good morning, Luca. Good morning, Brijesh. Good morning, Zai. How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel in this Friday morning? Are you guys chill? Are you guys having fun? And are you guys having your cup of coffee? I didn't have my cup of coffee yet, so you see, I'm really chill right now. I'm not that I'm not that hype. So bear with me. So CJ, thank you. Um, thank you. Well, sometimes you guys say that your mentor, your teacher, but I would like to take this opportunity to show my gratification for you guys as well. You know, without you guys sitting in front, um, without you guys sitting in front of the the screen, interacting with me, asking questions, well, I might not be a good teacher. Because of you guys, I'm getting better at teaching. So thank you very much as well. Likewise. All right. So we have accumulation and distribution, right? Distribution is seller, accumulation is buyer. This is really nice. I'm going to take a note for this one. Okay. So right here, we have a better understanding of how actually um, how what this actually means. Okay, accumulation, large player quietly building long positions. Distribution, large player quietly building short positions. Okay, all right, so there you have it. So let's back to the chart. Let's go back to the chart and analyze the market. So yep, back to the market. Okay, back here. So yep, sellers slowly, gathering position, and obvious distribution power being formed right here for euro US dollar. Now, the question would be, is there any potential accumulation of buying power right here? So this is going to be the tipping point. You see, there's going to be a tipping point, and it is an interesting one. Now, for me, when I see a structure like this, I tend to be cautious because I'm slightly excited. I'm slightly excited because that if we place the bet right, it actually means that we have a potential to make some really nice profit down here. Now that is why I'm excited, but it is also the same reason why am I cautious? Because if it didn't happen, it would just snap out, right? So the question would be, what happens if I'm wrong? So the thing that we want to do right now is really try to understand what is the auction doing. So here's what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to try to really remeasure everything. I don't want to have a directional bias, including this one, because the more I look at the image, the more hallucinative and self-deceptive my mind try to teach me, try to pursue me to place a trade. So as an auction market trader, the only thing that you want to do is actually to understand where is the previous auction. And as far as I see, the auction that is the closest one, that is legit, right? It is almost the visible one is actually somewhere, I think it's somewhere here. Right, this is the visible one, and this is not a good one, you know. It is visible, but it's not good. Because we want to look for obvious overlapping formation of the market. Okay, so this zone right here is considered, this kind of slight overlapping. But because this is a daily one, so it would be good if we zoom into the 1 hour to have a closer look. Since we are doing intraday, then it's fine. So 1 hour, really ask ourselves, what is the current market doing? Well, first of all, the state of the market. If we follow the rules of auction market theory, currently the state of the market is what we call imbalance. Okay. And well, it went from imbalance, and it went to expansion, right? And in search for new new balance. Okay, so it went from imbalance, okay, expansion, and currently it is actually in search for new balance. So the question would be, where is the new balance? And if you really want to have a good look of where is the potential new balance, it is gonna be, the first chart pattern you want to take a good look at is gonna be the overlapping price structure. You want to look at, overlapping structure. So where is the overlapping structure? So there you go. You have an overlapping structure right here. Okay, finally, it hit to a point where it start to get overlapping. And this is all we need, you see. So we want to have a good look. Is there a nice overlapping? Yeah, we do have an overlapping. Position. How many touches do we want? You know? Okay, somewhere here. Now, honestly speaking, this is still not considered a really nice, really nice, obvious structure that we are looking for. We still want more confirmation. So we're going to zoom in like a microscope, really try to understand what is this section here. We want to understand where is the point of control from the current price action. So let's draw it out. We want to ask ourselves, where does the price actually, been testing? We want to ask, where is the current auction? That is the question we want to ask ourselves. Where is the current auction that generates the most, momentum? Okay, there you have it. Okay, balance, imbalance expansion, and in search for new balance. All right. So fixed range volume profile. You know how I like to roll. So we're gonna start with the very beginning of the overlapping, even though that is not obvious one, but still I would consider that as a signal. So there you go. You have a good image, you have a good glimpse on where it's actually the point of control currently. You see, where is the point of control? So zoom in a little. There you go. So the high volume node and the point of control is, aligned together right here. Right, we have a point of control. So we also have like the low volume node here. Low volume node, very low liquidity, going on around like 1.15. Very high liquidity around here. Okay, so that's all the information we need for now. All right. And then we zoom in. So we want to see, is this the new balance zone that, they are completely fading. So we go to the 15 minutes. So now it's time for us to see the structure, okay, the structure of the market. Hmm. So for this position, Euro US dollar, well, I'm going to close this position. The reason why I want to close this position because it is irrelevant anymore. Because the trade that I did yesterday, it is a trade that is having this hypothesis. If it didn't manage to break out and keep on going down, which is distribution power formed by seller. What I'm planning, my hypothesis is that I'm going to take a position here, and then it will start to go through expansion in search for new balance, which is riding the bull. Okay, but right now it didn't seem to happen. It is invalid. It is not going to happen anymore because right here we have a clear signal that while buyer is still weak, seller is still pretty much pretty strong. So therefore I'm going to close this position right now. Okay, and it's okay to take a small loss. Okay, all right, so let's focus on some potential new entry. Okay, so imbalance expansion in search for new balance. Okay, so the question is it this the new balance? Well, potentially I would see based on the structure, potentially yes. Okay, now they are like renegotiating. We have potential opportunity to trade with price acceptance, which is ARM on, agreeable rotation model on. We have that kind of potential. But the thing is, we need to really try to understand, you know, what is the current state of the auction. Well, if you take a look, well, it actually went from expansion, right, in search for new balance, expansion in search for new balance, and right now the price, it is forming this zone right here. Like, okay, let's try to renegotiate in this zone. Okay, so having a point of control, being drawn out here, it means that probably most of the time the market will try to respect this zone and try to retest it. Okay, this is where most of the this is where most of the deals is being made. Now, for me, based on the structure that I'm looking at, if the price is currently, having this seller gathering the position, which is gathering distribution power, what might happen is this actually forming something like this, and then it will start to penetrate down. And to me, that is not a good sign um, to trade yet. Okay, so if I were to ask myself, how would I position myself in this kind of trade? So the principle of this would be asymmetric, right? Asymmetric is much more important than accuracy, right? So asymmetric means that this is where, I need to understand that is there any potential room for me to make more money if I win and lose very small money when I lose? So is there like a potential structure to do so? Well, first thing first, we want to take a good look, who is actually stronger. Now, based on what I'm looking at, after this field candle, we can't really tell the difference. Okay, we can say that seller and buyer are equally strong right now. Okay, and buyer are equally strong right now. When seller and buyer are equally strong, well, you can't really try to um, monetize on price rejection, which is a true break, and you can't really try to, well, make a lot of money through price acceptance, which is a false break. So when they're equally strong, the room is very less. It is almost like this small little room here. So you only have this small little room. Okay. So the probability based on the structure, I would say I will pause for a while for Euro US dollar. We cannot force an entry yet, but let me zoom in and have a closer look in the 5 minutes. There you go. Equally strong, you see. You have buyer, try to defend, and then you have, buyer try to defend, a buyer try to defend again, buyer try to defend again. See, buyer try to defend again. So you have signs of, buyer is actually try their very best to defend. So you can see that there's a sign of price accumulation. Okay, there's signs of price accumulation. Right, we do have signs of accumulation. So I'm going to gather all this information. The strong signs of price accumulation. And is there any sign of a weakening seller? Honestly speaking, based on the structure of the market, it really shows that, after exploration, it does shows that, it went to find a new balance. Okay. So currently when it's in balance, we're looking for price acceptance trade. Okay, price acceptance trade. So let me note that down. So we're looking for price acceptance trades. Well, when you're doing like intraday, trade, sometimes news is not too relevant, honestly speaking. So yeah, we're looking, more like price acceptance trade, POC right here. Zoom out a little. Thirty minutes. clear structure. Very, very low trading volume. Easy to penetrate. Okay, gathering position. Penetrating the market now. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on here. Okay, let's see. So if, the buyer can't really defend this move, I would probably do. So currently, you know, good news is that we did spot a potential trading zone, which is a balance zone, a new one. Bad news is it is still in a very volatile, chaotic kind of negotiation, which is the auction hall is a mess. It is not like overlapping smooth. It is still very chaotic, still very violent, right? A very violent negotiation going on. But it doesn't mean that we cannot trade it. It means that we need to understand how to trade it. Okay. Definitely, smaller lot size, smaller risk tolerance, and I'm gonna trade on a price acceptance. I'm not seeing that like the prices will still be going down. I'm actually, foreseeing that a potential accumulation of buying power from the buy side, which is from the bull party. So for that, I am, leaning more towards like buying bias, right? I'm leaning more towards buying bias for this one. But I want to see, the reaction of this candle. So I'm leaning more towards like a buying bias. So which means that we can do some trade here, but it's going to be a short trade, a very small trade. Okay, so let's say the price come back here, test it, break through, one touches to show me that the buyer still have the defend power. First time is not enough. I need a second touch, okay, to show me that you know it is really, really, have that kind of potential signal. I would really I would open a position here for buy, okay, but definitely not sell. Okay, definitely I'm not looking for sell. Okay, I'm looking for buy or aiming for some small pip. So like long position. So let's plan. How do I know that my plan has failed? Well, my plan has failed. Well, I'm going to use the lower swing as a reference. Okay, if it breaks my lower swing, I will consider, that's a failing plan.
You feel that? Feels crazy, right?
Yeah, probably a trade like this one. But for now, just leave it for, a moment. Nothing much to do. Really nothing much to do for now. And this section right here is actually not a good spot for any entry because it has a very low volume node, very, very low. It has a potential that is going to be penetrate through and keep on going. So yeah. So yes, for Euro US dollar, mm, slightly volatile, slightly volatile, um, not easy to predict and forecast. Market state, I would say that there's signs of price accumulation from the buying side. Um, but due to the chaotic state of the auction hall, I would be waiting patiently for the price to hit the desired zone for me to place a calculated very small risk trade. So Elizabeth says that as long as TP SL are set, that's enough, right? Well, as long as TP and SL are set, in an asymmetric point where you lose very less when you lose when you're wrong, and you win very big when you're right. If you have that kind of criteria and with the correct hypothesis, well, it is all right. Okay. Yeah, definitely doing nothing here. Okay, don't do anything here. This is a trap. Okay, don't tell yourself that it might be coming here and then keep on going down. Don't do that because we don't know. Okay, the thing about option market trading is that when the price is currently in exploration, you can't really make a good decision because it is still exploration. It is the current state. It is still have a strong sign of exploration, so you can't really do anything about it. So we just wait and switch to another pair for another, well, to study. Let's go. All right, let's take a look at Australian dollar, US dollar. You know, this is a better structure, to be honest. A way more better structure if you compare with Euro US dollar. You know, why do I say so? You have a long range of price exploration, long range, and then it start to end with, finally some peace. Okay, so there you go. This is a structure that is much more tradable if you are an option market trader. So here's the reasoning behind, right? Price move from, well, it moved from, a balance, and then it break out, you see, and then it went on to form a new zone, you see. Even though that the buyer still, want to like push it up a little, but right now it seems like, they have this kind of equal power already because seller is also having, it's also forming its distribution power as well. So this is much more predictable. You see the form of, Australian US dollar is actually a much more tradable formation for me. So, yep, Euro US dollar slightly, having that vibe of false trading, which is I don't like, but still I'm an opportunist. So there's a rule for me. If I'm taking a trade in a market that is so turbulent like Euro US dollar right now, I will take a very small risk. So if I'm gonna take like 1% risk per trade, for that particular trade, I'm just gonna take like 0.5%. All right, just for having some fun. So 0.5% is the max lot size risk tolerance I will take for that position. So for Euro US dollar, let's take a look at Australian US dollar. Let's take a look at Australian US dollar. Try to map it out the zone. So overlapping, beautiful structure. One touch, two touch. Okay, overlapping. So you know start to went on to distribution and then keep on pushing up again. Let's zoom in a little. Not the best structure, but it is a better structure than Euro US dollar, and better is all I need. Starting to get volatile. So this is the starting point. Finally, some form of agreement. Okay, so from here to here, we can understand, where is the highest point of control. So this is a low volume node, LVN. Let me change the color a little bit. Low volume node, penetrating through high volume node. Zooming in, have a closer look. Remove it. I would like to go back to 4 hours to understand something. Well, we still have really high this zone. Let me change the color a little. Okay, so there you have it. 1 hour. Minutes. So here's the thing. Now, for Australian US dollar, what is the current market state doing? Now we're going to explain all the way from the 4-hour chart so that you can have a good look on the reason. So if we look at the chart through the auction market lens, this part right here is what we call balance. Okay? And this entire part here is what we call imbalance or expansion. And it break through and then it start to form a brand new zone of balance, despite the fact that it is a chaotic one, but still it is a new balance. Okay, now when it is forming a new balance, which is a new zone right here, the first question that you need to ask yourself is, how is the negotiation going? Now you can see, based on the structure of the footprint of the negotiation, you can see something very interesting. If you trace the footprint, you will realize something, which is, the buyer and seller is negotiating fiercely. they didn't really, have that kind of common agreement yet. You see, it is an extremely chaotic, violent auction hall. Even though that we already spotted, a potential balance, but still, it is a very chaotic, very violent auction hall. It is still in the hall, but they don't like each other. It's just like you going into the wedding hall with somebody you don't love. Got the picture? You see, it's like you're going into the auction hall where you don't love that guy or you don't love that girl, but you're forced to marry that girl. So this is what the situation is. Okay, like you're being forced to go in there. Now, for us as an auction market trader, we don't choose sides. We don't say that I prefer, the bride, I prefer the bridal. No. For us, it's simple. We want to see who is actually regaining the power based on the the footprint of the market. So currently, point of control is actually the place where most of the trade is being being completed. And when most of the trade is completed here, this would be the zone where they renegotiate. Okay, they have this fight, you see, they have this very fierce fight. Oh, I don't like you. I want to go up. Okay, I disapprove. I want to go down. Right? There's a lot of like fight, but always they come back to this point as an anchor. Okay, it's like an anchor point. Okay, it's like a checkpoint, right? It's like a checkpoint. So, oops, let's put a checkpoint here. Okay, so this is like a small little checkpoint, between the buyer and seller. And the checkpoint is not determining any direction. Okay, it is not trying to determine any form of direction. It is just a place where they need to like renegotiate. Where should we go? Where should we not go? Okay. So now this is where fixed range volume profile comes in handy. This place, this zone right here, which is the green color one, it is actually high volume node. So when you have a high volume node, it means that there's still a lot of trade. So this is high volume node, and this is like low volume node. Okay, this is low volume node. So you have high volume node, low volume node, and you have point of control. Okay. So when the price, tested the low volume node, it didn't actually penetrate through it. And it shows because that based on previous pattern, buyer and seller really disagree to trade around here. And based on the footprint, the most of the good trades, high volume trade is being made in this zone. Okay. So right now, what we want to see is that if, if we base on probability, we have a good chance to ride the wave of this particular zone right here, which is, seller trying to accumulate, seller accumulating distribution. So seller accumulating distribution power here, aka compression. Okay, compression weighting balance. Yes. Okay. Now, is it like tradable? Well, I would say that it is tradable, but we need a few more. It's good for like intraday, small little, not like longer trade, small trade. Okay, so you see, seller, accumulating distribution power. Yep. Well, glad that you learned something, Indira. Yes, it is seller accumulating distribution power right here. Accumulating. Okay. So I'm looking at, a sell for this one. I'm looking at a sell, potential sell trade right here. So let's have a closer look at the performance, okay, of the seller. Go back up, being pushed back down again. Yeah, we do have. Okay, so to be honest, in order for me to really you know, in order for me to make a really nice trade, okay, a good one, I will tell you what is a good trade. A good trade would be this. I won't be entering here. I will skip this part, okay? And I will wait for the price to actually penetrate through here, okay? And then when the buyer try to, push it back up to this zone, it refuses. And then first attempt, I'll take it as, you know, interested. I'm gonna pay attention already. And then if the second attempt, it failed, and then it tried to go down, I will take my trade, go all the way down here. Okay, so this is gonna be my trading setup. Okay, I am looking for potential sell trade after the seller doing all this move right here. So yeah, we do have a potential trade, but I need to have more confirmation for this one. I can't really place a sell trade yet because of the point of control. I want to have the highest probability trade that I can have. So yep. Not to rush it, big part of trading is this. And when I'm doing the analysis for you, when I'm explaining the concept for you, in my brain, I notice that, I have nerve, I have that kind of impulse to want to hit the sell button right now. But there's this gut feeling and intuition that is in here telling me that, respect the structure, respect the hypothesis, okay? Because what we do is basically trying to place a structural bet that has the highest winning probability. So that is the reason why even though that I want to click the sell button after, understanding this structure, but still I'm holding myself from doing it. I want the seller, to show me more power. And I want the buyer to show me the weakness. And the only detail, the only place where the buyer can show me the buying weakness is not here. This is not weakness yet. Okay? This is not weakness yet. But right here, after the point of control, that would be the weakness. Because when you're still in the range of point of control, it is still 50-50. Okay? When you're in the range of POC, it means that it's going to be 50-50. Okay? Because when the price reaches the point of control, it means that, seller and buy. So when it is in this point of control, this zone, the buyer and seller, even though based on the pattern, it seems like seller have a stronger distribution power, right? But when the price goes back to POC, okay, when the price goes back to point of control, it actually means that you need to really train yourself to understand when the price goes back to point of control, it means that buyer and seller, they have equal rights, they have equal power. So when it is in a POC, it can be something like this, it can be go here and then back here again. Okay, it can be both ways. It is going to be 50-50. So if I really want to use this structure, which is a more powerful selling formation as my reference point to trade, I really need the buyer to show me that the buyer is weakening. And the only way for me to understand the buyer is actually weakening is really when they are out from the POC. Okay, when they are not in this zone. When they're in this zone, I cannot do anything. Okay, when they're here, I cannot do anything. And a few more things that I want you to understand. You see, even though that the buyer is already, proof that, they have the buying power, but it is a weakening buying power. You see, it is a very weak buying power. It is still being pushed down, pushed down, pushed down, and pushed down. So based on what I see, the seller is having more upside. The seller has more distribution power if you compare to the buyer, right? So yeah. So right now we're gonna wait, for Australian dollar to do its thing. When it reaches here, and when buyer really show the weakness, we're gonna click the sell. Okay. So the setup for this one is simple. It's gonna be a short position. Okay. And we're going to use this range. We're going to use the entire POC as yeah, we're going to use here. If we come back here, it means that we are wrong. And this is what I mean by asymmetric trade. And I'm going to write the entire wave, back to here. So, yep, it is a really good trade, to be honest. It is a good trade. But you need to be like patient a little. Need to be slightly patient. forming a new Zoom. Not doing anything here for Euro US dollar. It's a trap. So in this session, while we are doing live analysis, when we're doing, the the um, the understanding of, how do I set my stop loss, how do I set my take profit, and I mentioned to you guys a word called asymmetric is much more important than accuracy, right? And what do I mean by asymmetric? Okay, and I'm going to give you guys a short course, okay, a short course about the definition of asymmetric. So I want you to have a closer look. Okay, I want you guys to have a closer look in this short little course here. Okay, so Profit in Peace is actually a trading program, a trading education system where I teach you guys about trading psychology, trading philosophy, and the fundamental stuff for you to put in your trading belt so that you can become much more stable and calm when you come to trading. And today I'm going to share with you one of the things that really shape my my way of trading forever. So this is something that may be hard for you to swallow at first, because when you're trading, right, your brain try to teach you, your brain try to educate you about being right. So when you click the buy and sell, or before you click the buy and sell, your brain is trying to tell you you need to be right, you need to be correct. Yes, but the really counterintuitive thing about trading is that trading does not pay you for being right. Trading does not pay you for being right. And this is weird, right? Because we were all trained to be right. You as a student, me as a student, when we are young, especially if you're from Southeast Asia, our education system tend to train us to be right. We want to be right. Why? Because right answer equals to reward, right? And wrong answers equals to penalty. So it means that accuracy equals to success. The more accurate you are, the more successful you are as an individual. We are being taught this way since young. Okay, since young, we are being taught this way. You need to be accurate. You need to be 99, you need to score 99. If good, you need to have, score 100 if it's possible. But trading does not pay you for being right. And I want you to understand, in school, wrong ends the game. In school, if you're being wrong, it means that it ends your game. If you get really bad grades continuously, well, you're probably gonna, fucked up your career as a student, right? And in trading, wrong actually begins the game. In trading, wrong begins the game. So why is this, right? Being wrong is part of the game. So why? Because in trading, you are evaluated over a series of attempts, not a single attempt. Okay? So in school, your result is being your result is being dictated by one single exam. But in trading, you are evaluated by a series of attempts. Okay, so being wrong actually is part of the game. So I want you to understand there's a very big difference between the mindset of exam and the mindset in trading. When you are in exam, you need to understand the answer already exists. When you're in exam back at school, I want you to really think back when you're at school. You get to choose, right? A, B, C, D. So you get to choose, one of the answer that might be correct. Not might be, must be correct because you have A, B, C, D. So out of four, one must be correct. But in trading, you got to understand, in trading, the answer is always changing. A becomes C, C becomes 7, 7 becomes 1, 1 becomes D. So it is always jumping, right? It is always jumping around. So in trading, when the answer is always changing, how can you actually be right? That's the question I want you to reflect on. Why are you trying to be right in a game where the answer keeps moving? It is ridiculous. Think about it. In exam, the answer is there. But in trading, the answer is not there. The answer is jumping. Okay? So when the answer is jumping, I want you to understand accuracy is not your advantage in the market because it is impossible for you to be accurate in the game of trading. No. I'm going to give you an example, right? I'm going to give you an example. I want you guys to take a look at it. So I have this book right here. Okay, I have this book. Okay, so let's say this is the bullseye. Okay, this is the bullseye. Okay, this is the bullseye. So if you want to go accurate, you just have to practice. Okay, you just shoot. You just have to practice, and you will get accurate. But in the market, it's not like this. The market is like jumping around. The price is jumping around. So how do you practice? You cannot practice, guys. So accuracy is actually not your advantage in the market. Okay, that is lesson number one. And I hope that this information really spark you in trading. So asymmetric is much more important than accuracy. Okay, so why do I say asymmetric? So because when you look at the chart and then you have a good understanding, right? So this is why I say, you need asymmetric to be working in your favor. So I'm not aiming to be accurate for this one. I'm not accurate. Okay, I'm aiming for this. This is the part where I can make money. When I lose small, and when I win big. And most of the time, I won't be accurate. Why? Because it may take the position and then snap me out. It is really common in trading. Okay, so a short mini course about asymmetric, about accuracy. Okay, let's take a look at Euro US dollar. Ooh, charging. GBP US dollar. GBP USD. Nice overlapping structure. Still chaotic, but forming a compression. Small little zone.
You know, cause this world is built on material things. You know, cause this world is built on material things. But we ain't tripping off that. We want y'all to know this. You know, cause this world is built on material things. You know, cause this world is built on material things. But we ain't tripping off that. We want y'all to know this. You know, cause this world is built on material things. You know, cause this world is built on material things. But we ain't tripping off that. We want y'all to know this. You know, cause this world is built on material things.
Potential sell trade. Potential sell trade. All right, I'm going to do some trading journal.
You know, cause this world is built on material things. But we ain't tripping off that. We want y'all to know this. You know, cause
Hey
this
chat,
world is built
so
on
it
material
is
things.
11:27 a.m. and a quick note about the trading
You know,
process that
cause
I'm
this
in,
world is built on
the
material
emotional state,
things.
etc.
But we ain't tripping off
Um,
that.
I think it is important for me to take a quick recap, a quick note about how do I feel when I trade, how do I feel when I look at, the charts, and it may be subjective, it may be emotional, but still, I think it is worth documenting. Now, I realized after a few attempts of trading the Euro US dollar, Australian US dollar, and GBP US dollar, after analyzing three pairs, one thing I realized is that I can't really force a trade. And I can't really force a trade is because of the deep influence by auction market theory. And I noticed something that is very subtle. When I spot, when I see, chart pattern that is forming a compression, like a triangle shape, my old trading model, which is influenced by Thomas Krello, my mentor, my first mentor in trading, is telling me to trade true break, TRUEBREAKE. And my auction market theory brain is telling me that you can't really, place a trade just by looking at the chart pattern. And today, that kind of sense of contradiction and that sense of um, friction is actually emerging within me. So I do feel that I want to place a trade when I saw a compression. But still, there's this inner voice in me that is telling me that it may not be as simple as it looks. And this actually makes me wonder, you know, what is right and what is wrong. So that kind of feeling when I'm trading the market is is true, even though that I'm trading in front of my students, even though that I'm trading in front of the screen, even though that right now I'm doing my trading journal in front of everyone. But still, I think that it is important for me to take note of my thought process and my emotions that I'm feeling, you know, during this time. Well, I'm not trying to find a solution. I'm just trying to document down my emotional state, my thought process, and the contradiction that I feel during I'm trading. So yeah, that's it for now. And we will revise it. We will revise this later. Okay, guys. So I'm doing a new approach. Right, just now I'm not talking to you guys. Just now I'm talking to myself. So I'm actually, trying to document down my emotion, my thought process in my trading journal with ChatGPT. So this is actually what I do on daily basis. I reflect a lot. I analyze my own thought process a lot. So yeah, this is actually something that I find really good and healthy for my trading journey. And I want to show you guys, what do I actually do on daily basis when I'm trading alone, so that you guys can actually see not only because of my trade, you can also see that how do I think, how do I act, and how do I feel, when when I'm trading alone, to show you the thought process, even the vulnerable one. So yeah, see, pattern action to observation hypothesis action. Yep, it is a major architecture change. Ah, this is good. See, some nice information from my AI assistants. And I'm gonna place it here. See, that's a good rule. If a compression patterns appears but auction acceptance is unclear, then observation continues and no trade is forced. This is a good one. So now the next question I should ask myself is the auction acceptance is clear or not, right? So try to understand, is it clear or is it not clear? So guys, what I'm really trying to show you is that, I'm not a robot. I'm a human and I am not a prodigy. It's not like I am emotionless. I don't have any emotions. No, guys, cut that crap. I have emotions. And there are days where I still trade, like when there are still days that I trade where I feel embarrassed about myself. Okay, to be honest. And having AI, as an equipment really helped me a lot because, when my very own CPU is getting heated, having a lot of emotions, crazy thoughts, I can externalize my thought process to create that gap to observe my very own emotions and thought, from a distance, not being pulled by it. So you see, this is one of the things that, well, it helps. If a compression pattern appears but auction acceptance is unclear, observation continues and no trade is forced. This is a good one. Okay, that's a good rule. Well, GPP US dollar, I will do nothing, okay, before it touches here. I will do nothing before the price touches here. Guys, honestly speaking, not as excited as I foresee after, trade analyzing one, which is Euro US dollar. Let's take a look at Euro US dollar before we end our session. Start to penetrate to find a new zone, which means that you can't do anything before it finds a new zone. So nothing much for Euro US dollar. Australian US dollar, do we have a tradable zone? Let's take a look. Okay, penetrating through. We may have a potential trade for Australian US dollar. GBP US dollar, not gonna do anything before it reaches to this point. Gold. Gold, I'm gonna leave aside first. So, yep, we have a potential signal, which is the Australian US dollar. So, guys, it is out from the point of control. It is currently out from the point of control. So, yeah, we're gonna Observe, this may be the only signal that we have today. Nice. Finally. Oh my god, finally something, guys. Whew. Let's plan my trade. Calculator. Hey chat, so we're doing some calculation. I'm looking at Australian US dollar, and the current price of Australian US dollar is 0.70635. So I'm looking at a sell entry around 0.70667. Okay, and I'm looking at the sell when it reaches to the point if the buying power is not strong enough, which means that I'm going to take that as a signal where a seller, successfully accumulate the distribution power, and I'm going to do a sell trade. The stop loss is going to be around 0.70812, and the TP is going to be 0.70083. So I'm planning to take, for this particular trade, I'm going to take 2% risk per trade. And my account size, right now, the balance is 4,213.07. So please help me to calculate the optimal lot size for this particular setup. Thank you. Right. See, market often reward asymmetric bets, more than frequent ones. So this is really good asymmetric bets, to be honest. Opening at 0.58 lots. Okay, 58. Selling Australian US dollar, guys. Australian US dollar. Sell. Finally, something else. Finally. Gotta stand by, man. Alright, time to click sell. Australian US dollar, guys. Australian US dollar. Australian US dollar. Looking to sell at 0.70. If the buying power is not strong, I'm gonna click the sell button anytime soon. So currently, what I want to see is that, buyer try to defend. If I enter now and then suddenly it bursts up, it's gonna be stupid, right? So the good way to see is the buyer really, strong, is to let it test a little, and then we go down. This is what we call a high probability trade. Okay, this is the structure we're looking for. This is the structure we're looking for, guys. Okay, let it test a little. Yeah, Lavender, being prepared for a long time, man. Long time. I've been talking non-stop. I'm talking to a point that I don't know what to say anymore. And finally, we got it. Finally, we got it. Let it do its thing. Let it do its thing. Chill. Okay, let us chill for a while. That's a good structure. Wanna zoom in more? Nice, nice, nice. That's a good structure. Let's take a closer look. Okay, going back to the POC. Testing the level already. Okay, guys, pay attention this part, okay? We want to see this, you're watching it live, which is we want to see, is the buyer strong or is the buyer weak? Okay, it went from 50-50. So right now we want to take a closer look. Is it strong or is it weak? If it didn't manage to penetrate back to the POC, well, guys, we are actually, onto something nice. So the next price would be critical. Let us see. Start off with a green candle. Let it do its thing. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? That's a nice song. Guys, last 10 minutes of the live stream. Let's zoom in and see what the hell, does the buyer want to do. If it fails to re-enter POC, we're gonna take it. Going back in. Oh man. Oh, oh shit. It is going back in. Fuck that. Oh, come on. Well, it's penetrating in. Oops, wait. It's going back into the POC, guys. Yeah, it's going back in. Damn. Why the hell is going back in? See? Wow. Nope. Can't really go in now, guys. Buyer is still defending, guys. Okay, so we want it to move like this. Okay, you go back in. It is normal. It's not. It is normal, but we want it to like be beat down again. All right. If the second attempt failed to go in, we're gonna take all the way down. Okay, this is the setup. So we are waiting for this second confirmation here. You see this little? Okay, third candle coming up. Let's go. Let's go, let's go. Okay. Well, guys, nothing much for now. Slow, boring, nothing exciting, and unfortunately, it is part of trading. Boring, slow, nothing, and it is part of trading. Let's quote that. Okay, that is just part of the game. Oh my god. Oh my god. After like 2 hours, you know, it is like, I don't know if you guys, have you guys go to fish before? It is like trying to go out there. Going out there, try to fish, and there are days where you go out to the sea, you've prepared everything, but you don't get any fish, right? And today, for these 2 hours, guys, there's no fish. As far as I see, there's no fish. No fish. All right, let's just chat, guys. Let's just chat. Nothing much now, to be honest. Nothing much. All right, let's just switch to a different gear before the session ends. Okay, guys. So that's probably it, today's session. Well, I think I accidentally created a quote for future. It's called nothing exciting, boring, and it's part of trade. And I think you guys see it live. We've managed to analyze Euro US dollar. We managed to analyze Australian US dollar. We managed to analyze, um, I think, yeah, different pairs, like 2 to 3 pairs. And not much for today, honestly. I am actually having this mode, in Friday morning where I can make some profit with you guys, make some money with you guys. But honestly speaking, really after 2 hours of attempt, it is just not there. And I am not apologetic. I'm not sorry to say that it is not there. So if it's not there, it's not there. Okay. Yes, for Australian US dollar, I will keep on paying attention after the live stream. But after the live stream, I will take a short break, a lunch break after 1 hour or two. I will come back to the chart and keep on analyzing again. So I don't know about you guys, Um, I believe, a big part about trading is to understanding that you can't really be that successful when you're alone. It is way more better that you join a community. You have someone to teach, you have someone to share, you have someone to learn from. You have some element of human interaction so that you won't be biased by your very own thought. And a big part about RX and the program that we created in our VIP group, in our community, is to actually provide you that atmosphere, that environment for you to share, learn, trade, have fun, learning, upgrading yourself, and to become successful and stable, more importantly, profitable as a retail trader. And I'm really proud to say that so far, we have more than like nearly what 10,000 member, around the world. And we have, really nice experienced teacher in our group to teach you guys about trading. For me myself, I've been trading for 6 years. Pram, almost 6 years as well. Alan, also 6 years. So we don't consider ourselves like world class, but we do have that kind of passion and that kind of authenticity and responsibility to be a good coach for you guys. So everything that you see online right here is transparent. My thought process is transparent. My emotion is transparent. I'm doing it on live, and we're gonna do it from Monday to Friday every week. And we will have podcasts, we will have educational content in our channel, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. So guys, if you really want to master the art of retail trading in forex, in cryptocurrency, feel free to contact, Grace. Feel free to contact our customer service, and don't forget, feel free to click the subscribe button, of our YouTube channel, so that we can provide you more quality information about trading. Last but not least, my name is CG. Thank you for investing 2 hours of your time in the morning session. And later on, today we still have Prem, Alan in the upcoming session as well in the afternoon. So thank you very much. I wish you guys have a blissful, hopeful, enjoyable weekend ahead. Happy Friday, guys. I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.